Simplifying life these days is so important. I've been doing it for years and it has helped me to feel lighter, clearer and more intentional. But over time, I have realized that there's one thing that often gets overlooked, something that can make the whole process feel more natural and less stressful. A lot of the time we are following advice that just doesn't suit us. We try habits that work for someone else, but for us, those same habits can end up just adding more clutter, mental and physical, instead of helping. And a big part of that comes down to personality. So in this video, I want to share a more personal way to approach simplifying life based on the Myers-Briggs types. And don't worry, you don't need to know your type at all for this to make sense. I'll go through 8 personality traits and how each one affects your habits and choices, and what each type might need to simplify in a way that actually fits. Let's start with the one most people recognize first, so introverts and extroverts. This is about how we recharge. Introverts get energy from quiet moments, solitude and calm spaces. Extroverts feel recharged through people, conversations and doing things out in the world. So it's not necessarily about being shy or outgoing as it's often thought. It's more about what fills you up and what drains you. You probably already know which one you are. I'm an introvert myself, as you might have noticed if you have followed me for a while. But let's look at how that affects the motivation, the actions we take or we probably should take. So for introverts, simplifying is often about protecting energy. We want fewer interruptions and more space to think, reflect, or just be. And minimalism can help create the kind of calm that feels grounding and not overwhelming. Extroverts, on the other hand, often simplify to make room for what excites them, so social time, creative ideas, or spontaneous plans. They want a vibrant life just without all the extra stuff that gets in the way of that. Introverts tend to clear their calendars, limit overstimulating environments, and lean into quiet routines like just journaling or slow walks. And extroverts might focus more on creating open, inviting spaces, somewhere where they enjoy sharing with others. And for introverts, it really helps to build gentle boundaries and set aside quiet time regularly. Even 20 minutes a day alone can make a big difference. For extroverts, it's not about having less, it's about choosing connection more intentionally. Minimalism works best when it supports what brings them to life, not when it limits them or just takes things away. The next pair is sensor versus intuitive. This one's about how we naturally take in information, what we notice and pay attention to. Sensors tend to focus on what is real and practical. They see the details, remember how things were done before, and prefer sticking to what works. Intuitives are more drawn to ideas and possibilities. They think big picture, ask a lot of why questions, and often care more about meaning than method. And here I want to say that neither one is better. They just see the world through a slightly different lens. Sensors are often drawn to minimalism to make daily life feel more manageable and clear. They like systems that are simple, routines that work, and a space that feels in order. Intuitives, on the other hand, are often interested in minimalism because what it represents. They want to feel more aligned and more intentional. They want to be inspired. It's less about the actual tidy spaces and more about how life feels. Sensors might simplify by organizing their space, clearing countertops, getting storage in place, or setting up a routine that brings calm to the day. They like when they can see the difference. Intuitives, on the other hand, might focus more on inner clutter, like cutting out noise or rethinking habits and values to get better ideas. For them, it's often more emotional or philosophical than visual. Sensors do well with small steps and simple routines they can repeat. One space at a time works best. Intuitives tend to do better when there's a clear and powerful why behind any action. It helps when the everyday things feel very connected to their values, not just part of some routine. I have to say I'm more of a sensor myself, so for me, Minimalism usually starts with my physical surroundings, but once I have cleared the outside, I often end up clearing things mentally too, because now I know how important that is as well. Then we have thinker versus feeler. This pair is about how we make decisions, not just big ones, but the small everyday ones too. So thinkers tend to rely on logic. They want things to be efficient, fair, and to make sense. Feelers are more guided by emotion and how decisions affect themselves and the people around them. They both care about making good choices, they just use different filters to get there. Thinkers often choose minimalism to reduce wasted effort and resources. They want systems that work, routines that cut down on wasted time, and tools that help life feel more in control. They enjoy figuring out how to simplify in the most logical, straightforward way. Feelers, on the other hand, usually simplify when something starts to feel too heavy, when life is too fast, too loud, or emotionally draining. They want to create a home and rhythm that feels calm, safe, and in tune with their values. So for thinkers, minimalism often looks like clear checklists, clean design, and habits that make things easier. They might enjoy planning their week in advance or setting up workflows that make life more efficient, and feelers, on the other hand, simplify life a bit differently. They might let go of relationships that feel one-sided or say no to things that bring pressure or guilt, just like I was talking about in my last video. So yes, I'm a feeler. They care about how things feel, not just how they function. What works better for thinkers is having a clear structure they can rely on, something that gives their days direction without needing to adjust all the time. And what works better for feelers is having flexibility built into their systems. They need room for emotion, space to slow down when needed, and routines that feel gentle rather than super strict. So yes, I'm a feeler myself. I can recognize myself actually in both of these, but definitely I'm more on the feeler side. Judger versus perceiver. This one is about how people prefer to move through their day. So it's not about what you value or how you make decisions like in the earlier pairs. It's about how much structure you like in your everyday life. And here, just to clarify, being a judger doesn't mean that you judge people. It means you feel more at ease when things are decided. So judgers like having a plan, knowing what's done and what comes next. They don't need always things to be perfect, but they really like closure. A finished task and a clear timeline gives them peace of mind. Perceivers are more comfortable with leaving things open. They like the freedom to shift plans, move things around, or finish tasks in their own time. A half-finished project for them isn't stressful, it's just part of the flow. Judgers often simplify by building clear routines, so they enjoy crossing things off a list and having a space that feels kind of like done. Perceivers might simplify in bursts, so they act when the energy hits, then shift directions if something else feels more important. It's more about staying connected to the moment than sticking to some predetermined plan. So what works better for judgers is a reliable structure, weekly resets, planned decision times or defined spaces. And perceivers do best when there's freedom to adapt. You might have noticed or heard from my videos that I'm not really a fan of half-done things. I really love closure, so I fall more on the judger side here. So now that we have looked at the 4 core pairs, let's go a bit deeper, because it's not just about one trait, one characteristic, it's about how they combine together that really shapes how we experience life and simplicity. I'll go through a few personality combinations that I think are pretty common among minimalists, or at least among the people who are drawn to this kind of life, and what each one might need to simplify in a way that fits best. First, we have introvert plus feeler. If you're an introvert and a feeler, you probably care a lot about people, about things, about how things feel, and about staying close to what matters. But that can also be a lot to carry. You might get overwhelmed more easily than you admit, and asking for space can feel hard. You probably notice small things, when someone's mood changes, when a room feels off, or when something doesn't feel right. That kind of sensitivity is, of course, a strength, but it also means you need time to rest and just reset. For you, and for me, because this is me, minimalism isn't just about having less. You simplify to make space for peace, maybe by saying no to too many plans, letting go of guilt, or making more time to just be alone. Then we have intuitive plus perceiver. If you are both intuitive and a perceiver, you probably don't love rules or being told that there's one right way to live. You care more about what feels right, about meaning, ideas, and staying true to yourself. You might start something because it just feels exciting, then change direction if something else feels more aligned, and that's not being inconsistent. It's just how you stay connected to what actually matters to you personally. So for you, simplifying works best when it's flexible. You need space to do these shifts, to explore and make decisions that are actually based on your values, not just how they look on paper or for someone else. I think someone in this type might also benefit a lot from regular reflection. So checking in what still feels meaningful and letting go of what doesn't. If something starts to feel like a rule that is holding you back, then shift it. If something inspires you, then go toward that. Your version of simplicity or minimalism might not look like at all like other people's, and I think that is exactly how it should be. Sensor plus judger. These types tend to feel most calm when things are very predictable, organized, and working as they should. They notice small details, value reliability, and love when things just are running smoothly. They usually prefer simplifying in clear, manageable steps, going one drawer at a time, doing a weekly reset, or setting up a cleaning rhythm that repeats. What helps most is having a plan. Not a perfect one, but something steady, something that will keep you aligned. So a calendar that lays things out, designated places for all the important things in your life, and systems that don't need daily decision making. The simpler and more repeatable the system is, the better it works. Extrovert plus feeler. This combination is warm, expressive, and people-focused. These types care deeply about relationships, shared experiences, and making people feel welcome and included. A simple life for them means the opposite of isolation or empty space. It just means clearing out the things that get in the way of meaningful connection, like overcommitting, emotional pressure, or social clutter that leaves them drained instead of uplifted. Routines work best when they support both energy and rest, so there's prioritized time with nice people, light structure for daily flow, and still some space to step back if needed. All this helps them to stay balanced. So yeah, as you can see, there's no one-size-fits-all version of minimalism. What matters is finding a way to simplify that actually works with your personality, not against it. So instead of forcing yourself to follow someone else's version of simplicity, just build your own. Let me know in the comments which type you are or what personality traits you recognized yourself in this video. I would love to hear how you have made simplicity work your way. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.